And we have a really good example to show you guys today. Okay, you hear us talking about drip edge a lot, and you can see drip edge was already installed on this home, right? But this is a problem that we see very often, and this is something you want to be very careful about when you're talking to roofers. You know, you want to know whether or not the person you're speaking with is actually the contractor that's going to do the work, or if that work is going to be subbed out, and I'll tell you why. This home was built in 1968, and when we go into homes that are older built, we routinely find extended gaps like this, right? So now if you look, okay, this drip edge is what we call C3.5. It's the same stuff that we ordered today. You can see we have enough of it down there to cover the entire perimeter length. And the reason why I say it's important to have an actual roofer contractor and not a sales group that's just going to subcontract that roof out is because when you sign with a sales group, right, once they plan the job, someone from a desk who's probably never been out to see your roof or your home is going to put together that list of materials for what the job needs. And they're very simply going to look at the measurements, which tell them, you know, how much perimeter length you have throughout the house, right? And they come in 10-foot lengths. So if you have 400 linear feet, they're going to divide that by 10 and say you need 40 pieces of C3.5 drip edge. Here's the problem. If you come to this backside, look how extended that gap is. The purpose of the drip edge, right, is so that part of it comes right here where my tape measure is, right, on the roof's plane, and then the other part goes down over the gutter. So when water displaces off of this roof deck, it has a tendency to want to drip and double back. The drip edge will block it from coming back to this lumber you see here, the headboard, and it'll make sure that it displaces right into the gutter. So the problem with that is, and I can tell you that it was probably a subcontractor who put the last roof on, is when a subcontractor arrives and says that sees that the plans call for C3.5 drip edge, they're not going to take into consideration that the drip edge is not going to function, right? They're just going to install it like you see here, but it hasn't covered the gap. So in those instances where we come upon a home that has an extended gap like that, we're prepared to fabricate the metal on site. So if you look on top of our truck, we have a brake, that handle with the rubber piece right there pointing up. That is a machine that we use to put thin metal in to bend and then cut it, right? And then if you look in the back of my truck, you'll see that box right there next to my toolbox, and then a partially opened one. What that is, they're rolls of trim coil. So that is thin metal, about the same gauge as the C3.5 drip edge. But because we know that drip edge is not going to cover this extended gap, right, we're going to fabricate our own drip edge that will fit this. So those are the kind of details, you know, that you want paid attention to on job day. And believe me when I tell you, if you only have a subcontractor, you know, it's going to send a salesperson, project manager to sit in a truck outside of the house, you know, putzing around like he knows what's going on. The fact of the matter is those things are not going to happen. The sub crew is just simply going to say, well, there's C3.5 here. That's what the plans call for, and we're going to put it down with no consideration for the fact that it doesn't fit and is not accomplishing anything. It's essentially like walking around with a gun with no bullets. It's all for show. It's not serving any purpose. So one thing I wanted to show you folks, and when we get it, you know, installed correctly after the metal is bent and put into place, I'll show you how that looks when it's finished.